Hey guys, so I thought I would do something a little bit different than I normally do and just share a small little haul that I got the other day when I was out thrifting. All of the items I'm about to show you were all included in just one price, one flat price of $5. So I think I've told you before, I know I've told you before, if you've watched my channel and my What Solds, I talk about our little local clearance center, that is what they call it. So it's basically like the bins, like the Goodwill bins, but it's for our local thrift store. If I still have footage of one time I was there, I'll pop it up here. But it's tiny. It's just this small little building, and it's associated with a local thrift chain in our area, and stuff either that doesn't sell goes there, or some stuff just goes straight there. So we always have a lot of fun picking through. My husband actually prefers that thrift store the best. So when he's thrifting in the winter time, if he does any thrifting, that's where he likes to go. So I got this little pile of stuff and it was only $5, and that's basically their pricing. So it's not by the pound. If you can fit it like into a small bag, it's $5. And if you get a bunch of stuff and it fits into a black garbage bag, it's $10. And then if it's less, you know, they'll go anywhere. Like if you only have a few things, they'll charge like $2 or $3. So I'm just going to share some of the things I found from that $5 haul, and just kind of share some of the fun vintage things I found. Okay, so starting off, I've got some fabric. It's vintage fabric. I had noticed this pattern first. It was very vintage looking. And the material is just kind of like I don't know, maybe you fabric people who are better at it than I am. It's like a knit. It's like kind of like a jersey knit. Very like 80s to me. And they're both like that. I don't know if you'd call that a jersey knit, but anyway, definitely a vintage kind of feel. So I got those two pieces of fabric. And I'm going to talk about fabric one day. Fabric is like my nemesis, but anyway. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I'm in the garage. There's really no other good place to put it. I found some utensils. So there was a bag, or a box, I should say. They hadn't put out any of the stuff yet, and they said, yeah, go ahead and dig in it. So I dug around in it. I got this cheese slicer. It's not marked at all. It does have a glass handle. I can Google Lens it. I feel like I've seen it before, like it's goating or, you know, something like that. And anyway, I just grabbed that. This is a like spreader spatula type thing, and it's by Flint. So Flint Arrowhead, made in the USA. So I have a bunch of that type of black handle riveted utensils, which if we talked about in my utensil video, I'm sure. And I can just add it to a lot when I put that together. There was a couple like large barbecue. This one we ended up keeping. I gave it to my husband. The brand is called Kristen, Christen. So we kept that big flipper. But then we had this other set. It's a very long spatula and fork. And then these are just marked, let's see, I have it upside down, NASCO. Okay, so it's NASCO Forged Stainless Japan. NASCO is National Silver Company. So I have not looked at comps on those yet, but my husband did such a nice job getting those cleaned up and polished. I think he's going to put those in his Etsy shop. But very mid-century looking set. I just grabbed this little funny little measuring spoon gadget. It just says measuring patent pending USA. I have no idea about it, but you know what? When you know you're only paying pennies, sometimes it's easy just to pick a few things up. Same thing. This is by Vaughn. Tempered tool steel, it says, made in the USA. So I always like to pick up made in the USA little gadgets. When I picked up the fabric, it's in the bin where they have sewing patterns and fabric and all sorts of things. And I just ended up picking up this little box of vintage zippers. So some are Talon. That one's metal for like a jacket, but there's some older, you know, that one's just polyester. Same thing, polyester, Talon zipper. Anyway, I'll probably just lot them up and see if anybody in my little Notions shop wants those. Next up, let's take a look at these Danskos. At first I was like, oh my goodness, why are these Danskos at the outlet at the clearance center? But they did have big black marks all around the toes. As you can see, hubby again did a wonderful job cleaning them up. They just magic eraser takes those black scuffs right off. The other issue, I was like, oh no, all this in here was white. So my husband also kind of took care of that. He just went ahead and used some shoe polish and buffed it out and everything like that. So they actually look really good right now. They've gotten rescued and the soles were already good. We have them listed. I have to double check that he did the twist test. I'll do that real quick when I finish this video. So the twist test, older Danskos can rot. They can get dry rot. And so before you sell any, it's good to just kind of give them a good bend and twist and everything and double check that they don't just crumble on you. Okay, back to the little utensils. I've got some mid-century grapefruit spoons. These are just also, I believe, stainless Japan. Easy peasy. I picked up this little Delft, Germany creamer. Again, so it was another cart that they hadn't unloaded yet, but it was in good shape. There's nothing wrong with it. And next to it was this bell. And as you can see, it says Limoges, France. And I think that's also marked Limoges inside. So it's not worth a ton. But again, like I said, it's just pennies. I'm paying pennies. This is by Echo. Yellow plastic. Another fun little vintage juicer. And a really awesome retro mid-century color. People like their yellow kitchens, right? Okay, so the last thing I think I have here that was in that, let's see, this bag. Let me pull out the other thing. This was in that box, and it's just a vintage silver-plated butter knife. The markings, you know, they're just gonna mean silver plate when I finally decipher them. But it's just, it's very old. And so that etched design, oh look, it has a little butterfly. I love that. So we'll polish that up. But this bag was in there, and these were very, very interesting. So let me see if I can get the mark. Okay, so it's like Felix, Gloria work, stainless, Solingen, Germany, right? And they have a scene on the blade, which is fascinating. And then they have the antler handle and everything. So very, very cool. And let's see. When I looked it up, the name on here, that Felix and Gloria Werk, it shows up on a lot of like pocket knives and things like that. And so there's a few steak knives type things listed, but I haven't done the deep dive research into like WorthPoint or anything to find out if they've ever sold or if anything like these have sold. But I was happy to take those, even if I only sell them for $25 or whatever. They are just super awesome. I love finding vintage at prices like that. Then I went ahead and grabbed these mugs. These are heavy, like acrylic, really thick, heavy duty plastic. and they are the Train Collectors Association, which could be good. Toy Train Museum. They're from the year 2000. So anyway, I thought, who knows if somebody wants these or not? We'll find out. Okay. And then in the hats, I picked up this vintage. It still needs to be washed. Omnitech, so it's vintage Columbia. You can see the vintage Columbia tag, made in the USA. And just, you know, hats are kind of bread and butter for us. And then these hats were there. These were in really good shape. There's Cleveland Browns, and it's a New Era hat. And then this one is all right, let me skip over. This one, I believe, is Houston Astros, but it's cool because it's got the Loudmouth logo. Oh, my light turned off. Hold on. Sorry. It's a motion detecting light, and it didn't detect my motion. Okay. So Houston Astros, Loudmouth. Loudmouth is, if it's the same, it's a very brightly colored and patterned clothing. So that was the first thing I thought of. So my husband listed those, so I didn't do the research on them. But when I saw Loudmouth, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So that's a woman's hat according to the tag. Houston Astros, Cleveland Browns. And then this one is also, it's the Seattle Mariners old logo, which I learned. I didn't know that. And it's also New Era. But it's the Cooperstown collection. And I don't think this hat is available anymore. Anywhere else except secondhand, possibly. I just saw one website that was selling those and they were sold out. So we priced that one a little bit higher. We do have a watcher on it now, so we'll see how that does. Now this was over by the kitchen stuff, and this is our awesome find of the day. It was a little bit dirty. We washed it up. But this kind of goes along with our, you take the lid off, and it telescopes out. Sorry, I wasn't even filming it. I was too busy figuring out how it worked. So that kind of goes along with my office supply video. And things like this that can go on desks that can hold paper clips and, you know, odds and ends. This could also be for jewelry. It could be just for trinkets or whatever. So I just thought that was cool. It was like things I've seen online before, like from the 80s or earlier. And if you look at the bottom, it's called Interdesign. And it says Interdesign Craft. Let's see, wherever it's from, but it is made in the USA. Beechwood. Anyway, so it's made in the USA. So I was just like, oh, that's cool. And of course my husband's like, oh, I claimed that for my Etsy shop. Well, then he was doing the research on it, and surprisingly enough, he found a couple on WorthPoint. One was like a peach tan color or something, sold for $99, $100, and another, there was a red one that sold for a little bit less. So I don't know that there's any others listed right now anywhere else. Red is definitely going to be a popular color. So we kind of shot for the moon. He put it in his Etsy shop for over $100. And we can always go down, see what happens. But definitely keep your eye out for, you know, this design. You know, it doesn't even have to be that brand. I kind of expected it to be a brand I recognized when I flipped it over. Nothing that pops into my head at the moment, but I was like, oh, maybe it'll be Danish or something like that. But I saw made in the USA, and I'm like, you know what, good enough for me. So anyway, that was super exciting. And oops, a couple more that I missed. These were just in another spot in the house because my husband was going to list these. These were also in that box of utensils that I was able to dig through. And this top one is a cheese plane. They call it, like a cheese cutter, cheese slicer. Most of the ones I find are by the company called Spar and made in Norway. This one's actually made in Sweden. It looks like it says VEICO, and it's stainless steel. So yeah, those always sell for me. It's like one of my favorite little utensils to pick up. And I generally sell them in the 18 to 20 to maybe a little bit higher than $20 depending on condition and things like that. And then this little bar tool, it's not, I mean, I don't know. They're usually not Bakelite. This one might be, actually. I'll have to test it. But it would probably be from one of those bar tool sets. We've sold different bar tools that have that same kind of handle, but I'm not seeing any kind of seam or anything like that. So that one might be one. I've had other ones that were kind of made to look that way, but didn't. And I don't know, what do you guys think? It looks like a muddler. I don't know if a muddler has to have like a spoon on the end, or anyway, some kind of cocktail mixing is my guess on that one. So, all right, back to the video. Okay, so like I said, all of that I got was $5 for all of that. So that definitely just begs the question, why don't I shop there more often? Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great week, and we are still on our vacation, but hopefully we'll have lots of great things to share with you when I get back, and have found some good things so far on the road. Happy selling, everybody.